All right, so get this. TheoBros. Seriously, that's what we're diving into today.
Catchy, right?
Definitely not what I pictured. This Mother Jones article you shared calls them young Christian nationalists, and they want to make America a Christian nation, basically. But it's the whole image thing, you know?
They are a pretty slick bunch, I'll give them that.
Yeah, like, forget those old stereotypes. We're talking guys in suits, they've got podcasts, YouTube channels that look like they're filmed in some high-tech man cave. Is this what modern religion looks like now?
Well, they have definitely updated the packaging, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But this whole Christian America idea,
Right.
that's been around. To really get the TheoBros, we need to rewind a bit back to a guy named R.J. Rushdoony, like mid-20th century.
Okay, so who was this Rushdoony guy?
He was really into this thing called Christian Reconstructionism.
Christian Reconstructionism, huh? Sounds intense.
So it kind of was. Imagine, like, every part of life, schools, laws, even the government, all run strictly by his reading of the Bible. He actually thought, for example, that we should have the death penalty for stuff like adultery, witchcraft, Old Testament stuff.
Whoa, okay, so this isn't just about, like, more Christmas decorations. We're talking full-on faith-based government. So where do these TheoBros fit in?
Well, they want that Christian America, too. But
Yeah.
their thing is this branch of Protestantism, Calvinism, known for being pretty hardcore about their belief.
I think the article mentioned that.
And here's the thing. They might share the goal of older generations, but their take on things like, say, women's rights or what the government should do, even more conservative.
Yeah, the article definitely hinted at that. So it's less about holding on to the past and more about, like, fighting back against anything that goes against their beliefs.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really interesting. They're using things like social media, online platforms, not just to get their message out, but to actually debate people, even target young people specifically. I mean, this is a generation that practically lives online, right? The TheoBros are meeting them on their own turf.
Makes sense. Way different from, like, knocking on doors or having bake sales.
Totally. That's what sets them apart from older Christian conservatives. Podcasts with, like, amazing sound quality. They understand how to use algorithms to their advantage, building these online groups that can, jump into action whenever.
So they're taking this technology that some people might see as, like, the opposite of their beliefs and using it to get even bigger.
Exactly. That's what makes them so fascinating and potentially really powerful.
It's wild, this whole blend of old school beliefs and high-tech strategy. But the article also talked about this guy, Douglas Wilson. They made him sound like, I don't know, kind of a godfather to the TheoBros.
Oh, yeah. Wilson's influence is huge.
Yeah.
He's kind of this bridge between the old ways and the new, And you even see it in his own life. He inherits a bookstore, that he's in the military, and then, boom, he goes and starts this whole Christian community in Idaho.
Wait, seriously? Like their own town?
Pretty much. Calls it a Christian town, all built on their take on the Bible. It's become a model for the TheoBros who want to do the same kind of thing, create communities based on their beliefs.
And didn't the article say something about him making these videos no quarter November or something? He, like, takes a flamethrower to things that represent modern culture?
Yeah, the flamethrower is real. Wilson's all about the theatrics, but he backs it up with rock-solid, very conservative theology. It's a weird mix, but I guess it works because it gets attention, and that appeals to young people.
Yeah, but doesn't he get flack even from other conservatives? The article mentions something about his views on gender roles, even slavery being controversial.
Oh, for sure. Those writings have caused a lot of debate, even outrage. The way he sees men and women's place in a family is very traditional.
Yeah.
And when it comes to slavery, well, his take on those Bible verses is, let's just say, it's deeply troubling.
Wow. And people still follow his lead after all that.
Part of it's because he's a mentor. He's very intentional about training the next generation of TheoBro leaders. Guys like Stephen Wolfe, Joel Webbon, they were mentored by him.
So it's like he's creating this whole pipeline, ensuring that his brand of conservative thought lives on. But back to these communities they're building. How does that work exactly? Is it just like a few families deciding to move to the same place, or is there more to it?
This group, New Founding, they're actually buying land. The goal is to start communities where they can live out this vision of a Christian society. And they're not even hiding it. It's all in the open. They want people to join them.
It's like they're creating these little test tube versions of their perfect world right there within our society.
Yeah, that makes it so interesting. They're not just dropping out. They're creating these model communities, hoping that it'll change the whole culture eventually. Talk about playing the long game, right?
Yeah. Talk about a long game. Building communities, training leaders. It's kind of scary, But they're not stopping there, right? This article said they're also getting into politics, trying to have influence on a bigger scale.
Oh, absolutely. They might be building their own little worlds, but they're also working to change the whole political scene, make it match their beliefs.
Right, like that JD Vance guy we talked about.
If he
He seems to be on board with some of their ideas, even if he's not, like, shouting it from the rooftops. But how are they actually doing this? Are they, like, starting their own political party, or is it more about just supporting candidates they agree with?
It's more complicated than that. They're going after these big influential groups like the Southern Baptists. That's a huge chunk of Protestants in the U.S., right? The article mentioned this guy, William Wolfe. He wants them to become way more explicitly Christian nationalist. No beating around the bush with them.
So it's less about starting fresh, more about pulling these existing groups further to the right.
That's the idea. Wolfe thinks that mainstream evangelicals, Big Eva, as they call them, they've gotten too cozy with secular culture, too willing to compromise. He sees the TheoBros as a way to course correct, get the whole movement back on what he sees as the right track.
But can that even work? I mean, a Christian America in a place as diverse as the U.S., we're not a theocracy, and we've got this whole thing about religious freedom, different beliefs coexisting.
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? What happens to everyone who doesn't fit into their very specific worldview? How do you square this idea of a society run by their interpretation of the Bible with the fact that we've got so many different beliefs, so many different kinds of people?
It's a lot to think about, for sure. Reading this article really made me wonder, have you seen any of this TheoBros stuff popping up in your own life? Are they just this fringe group, or are we watching something that could actually, like, reshape politics as we know it? Feels like something we should all be paying attention to.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest takeaway here is we need to be aware of how these ideas are spreading, not just in government, but in our neighborhoods, our schools, even our own families. This whole thing about religion and politics in America, it's being figured out right now. And understanding groups like the TheoBros, it's crucial if we want to have a say in what the future looks like.